What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast, Happy Hour Hoops. We're back. We're talking NBA as always. Steve, Jake, and myself, Dunny, here to bring the good stuff. How we doing today, boys? Wednesday
We're
night.
doing well. We're doing well. A great slate of basketball last night. Can't wait to dive into a few of those games, as well as I love that we're doing power rankings each week, Dunny. I know you love it because the Celtics seem to be at the top every week in their own league. But can't wait to talk about some of these teams again. I know you got the Celtics jersey on. Well deserved, though.
Big game tonight. Big game.
And once again, Dunny, another disrespectful line. Another one when they played the Raptors. Why are they a dog?
Yeah, that was crazy.
We'll get into all that. I'm doing well, Dunny. Just enjoying some basketball. Well, Luka won the battle of the great European basketball players last night, beating Jokic. Nice little triple-double for Luka. So, I'm feeling good. Got the Luka jersey there. And he's the only one, I think, right now who's giving Tatum a run for his money.
How are we doing, Jake?
Only one?
Mm-hmm.
Only one?
It's close.
Mr. Mitchell, I think.
No, he's not there. That's not who I was thinking.
I don't think he's there yet.
I wasn't giving that.
The door?
I think it's probably those two. But Anthony Davis is making a run. If he gets now, I think he's going to be fine basketball wise. He has the flu, which if it's the same flu that I had, which seems to be going around everywhere, I understand.
Weird sickness going around, bro.
Everywhere, man. Everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but I'm good. It's been a great week of watching games. Last night, Lakers Cavs, like one of my favorite games, I guess, every year now. It's a weird experience, but last night it was interesting to see a fully competent Cavs team against the Lakers and see Mitchell kind of be a bigger star than LeBron in Cleveland, which is never happened ever in the last 20 years. And he did it. So it's like it was a weird passing of the torch moment when I look at it from like a very, I guess, big picture perspective. I'll be back in a second. Right?
All right, Steve, let's get into the news and notes here.
Let's do it.
This one, and I feel like this is kind of flying under the radar for how big of a story. Like, we haven't had an NBA story with this much drama, I think, since the offseason, but it doesn't really seem to be getting much coverage, or at least on my timeline, on socials and stuff. Like, I've read up. I kind of had to dig, I feel like, to get the information is basically what I'm getting at. But Trae Young and Nate McMillan got into it last week or this past weekend before a game. Basically, the ultimatum from Coach McMillan was, and Trae was dealing with like a bit of a shoulder injury. This is why this came up in the first place. But it was basically, be at the arena, warm up with your teammates, come off the bench tonight, or don't show up at all. They had an exchange, and then that was the ultimatum that Coach gave to Trae. Trae elected to not show up and didn't play in the game because he didn't show up at all. He wasn't even in the arena, wasn't on the bench with his team, and it was a home game. This is what I mean. Where I saw this video on TikTok. I kind of had to it didn't surface anywhere else for me, but he got into it with a reporter when asked about the situation. He just kept saying it's a private matter. He doesn't need to talk about it. The reporter just kept kind of going back at him, and he called the reporter an asshat. Just really seemed salty about the situation. Said it wasn't really anything big, but obviously pretty peeved about it. What did you guys think of this? I thought it was pretty interesting, honestly.
Well, first, I'm grateful that the Brooklyn Nets are not involved in this story because it's like the first drama news we have that doesn't involve the Brooklyn Nets. But this is interesting, Dunny, because it feels like that they're kind of hiding everything. And I'm always, when we have something that comes out with drama between a coach and a player, whenever you don't really hear anything, that's when I feel like it's bad. When he's not going to say anything, when they're not going to give any details one way or another, that's where I feel like it's bad. And we know that Trae Young hasn't had the best, relationships with coaches in the past either. So it's not really a great sign. I don't know. It's hard to say because we don't have enough information right now.
Mm-hmm.
But Trey, obviously the Hawks will side with Trey Young, whatever it is. That's kind of how it is, even though if sometimes it doesn't feel that way. I mean, he's your superstar player. He's your
He's
franchise player.
everything. I mean,
That's who you're building around. He is the Atlanta Hawks right now, right? Like the Atlanta Hawks are not the Atlanta Hawks without Trey Young. So we'll see. But if you're Nate McMillan, probably not in a great spot right now. Probably not in a great spot. That's probably not the one player you want to have beef with.
What's interesting from the Athletic reporting is that the players are much more behind McMillan than they were with Jacques Vaughn before. And so it's like, I don't, that to me seems like it's not everybody's agreeing with Trey. And if he's supposed to be the leader of this team, everything else, and the guys are like, listen, bro, like we hear you, but that type of deal, that could get messy. Because if you have guys taking sides between the star player and the coach, then you're really asking for a lot. And it's a lot just telling on Trey, and just I think what we can tell so far is he shouldn't have been put in the position to be a leader of a franchise at the young age that he was given those keys, because I don't think he's been ready for it. And it's a lot to ask a guy that's 23, 24 years old to be in that position. I don't think there's a lot of stars that have been asked to be put in that position as super duper stars that have accomplished a lot, at least in the league so far. And honestly, had the doubts about Trey being a lead superstar. There were plenty of them coming out of his draft and everything else too. So he's been a great player, and there's a lot of things, but maybe we're seeing what the issues are catering an organization to a young guy, which is not different. It has happened plenty of times in the NBA and the NHL and the NFL, and every single sport it happens, and it could just be another case of that.
The only time he's really like showed it or like stepped up to the plate, I feel like, because he's had some unbelievable games. I mean, last year his numbers were insane, but obviously kind of flopped in the playoffs. 2 years ago in the playoffs, the Knicks series, that was like the really first and only time we saw Trey Young be like, okay, this dude is the Atlanta Hawks. Like, he's cold as hell. He's taking on the Knicks. He's taking on Knicks fans. He's getting spit on. He's hyping up the opposing crowd. That was like, holy shit, Trey Young's this dude. Trey Young is the Atlanta Hawks. But yeah, like, I mean, we're 2 years removed from that. They did poorly in the playoffs last year. They acquired DeJounte Murray. They're still, they're not, I mean, at the bottom of the East by any means. But yeah, they're not. They're the 4 seed.
Yeah. 13, so 11, like, decent.
But it obviously,
that's the thing, is like,
we know,
but how good would they be if this shit wasn't going on, if their superstar wasn't maybe a malcontent potentially? I mean, it's such a weird thing, and like, it's such a weird thing to beef about. Like, that's the thing that the report with him not wanting to join, like, both of these men in these situations could have been bigger people. One, Trey could have just gotten up from his treatment, walked over to shoot around for a little bit, and then resumed treatment and decided if he wanted to play in that game or not. Also, Trey should have showed up to the arena and been with his teammates. That is one of the biggest things to me, is you're a home game. That's Kyrie shit that we were killing him for, after the COVID stuff and everything else. Like, guys, we have killed guys for that in the past. You got to show up on a Friday night for your team, even if you're not playing in the game. McMillan, though, also, unless it had to have been the last straw for him if he's making a stand, that like, that's what it is to me. But you still have to handle things with a star player better and not let it get out like it has. And then he doesn't take any, like you said earlier, Trey he didn't really like say what was going on, like that we didn't get any answers from him. And you would think that he would want to take some ownership of the situation a little bit. And he chose not to when he was asked to. So that just shows even more issues going on. Like, he can't even be like, hey man, like, my bad. Like, even if he didn't mean it, like, that, you should probably still be like, I did, admit you did something wrong. And he just chose to avoid it.
Yeah. And the most interesting comment, I think, too, and I'll give Trey the benefit of the doubt in this aspect, where the media portion that I saw and him getting fed up, the reporter was like, kind of up his ass, like, the reporter was doing his job, but once Trey like showed that he wasn't really interested, the reporter was egging him on. He was pushing buttons he was instigating Trey for sure. Like, this dude was trying to get a good soundbite, write a good story, whatever. He was doing his job. I don't think he stepped too out of the line or anything, but he was definitely trying to instigate Trey. the most interesting thing that was mentioned and that Trey really just kind of breezed over and didn't comment on, John Collins is out at least 2 weeks. He was sitting on the Hawks bench in a boot or whatever. I think he might have like a boot or like a brace on his foot or ankle or whatever his injury is. But the reporter brought that up. He's like, John Collins is injured. He was on the bench with your team. You weren't even in the arena. That's where it's like John Collins is like spoken out about how he doesn't even really want to be in Atlanta. He wanted to get traded last year, and this dude's still supporting the team. It's just like, it's one thing if you have this beef with your coach, but it's like those are the glaring things. Like your teammate who has expressed he doesn't even really like his situation is still out there supporting his guys. If you want the Atlanta Hawks to rally, if you want to have a shot, if you and DeJounte Murray actually want to take that step for the Atlanta Hawks, you just got to be a little better, a little more professional, or figure out whatever the hell you have going on with you and Nate McMillan.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. What else we got for news and notes, Dunny?
Just Brad Beal, hamstring injury. I think Shams reported this a few days ago. He'll be reevaluated in a week. So kind of weird. Like Wizards been like, I don't want to say hot as of late, but they just looked better than expected, I think. And that's huge part in is because of Kyle Kuzma. So tough to
too.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. Kristaps is having a great year. We talked about him last week. So yeah, it's disappointing, but I mean, it sounds minor for Brad Beal. He should be back soon, and like we said, Kuz and Porzingis kind of carrying the load there anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Beal's been playing all right this year too. He's averaging a quiet 23. No one's talking about it, but he still leads the team in scoring. 52% from
contract.
Beal.
No one's talking about
it. Yeah, no one talks about Beal anymore. He's just a scorer, right? He's just does what he needs to do.
Because who's talking about the Wizards? That's the problem. No one cares about the
us, apparently.
Yeah, well, we're giving the Wizards. It is a pretty big like between Beal and the way Kuzma and Porzingis are playing and what you think of those guys like at the peak of their perception. That's not a bad group to have in this Eastern Conference right now. To go like there and the way they've been able to pop off scoring wise and everything, it's an interesting group. But there has been talks this week about Kyle Kuzma potentially being traded. I think you mentioned the Suns earlier as being a team which interested, and that would be something. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of teams interested in them. So they're an interesting team. They could go either way. I don't really know what else. I think if you're going to do anything, if you're keeping Beal at least around, I would just try to add pieces to this team and be a solid playoff team in the East, because I really think I think the East is going to be interesting in general, and which this is like trade going into like potential teams that are going to be looking to make trades or looking to offload people, because right now like 4 through 11 is pretty much wide open. Like any team could say that they have a chance at the 4 seed if they wanted. They really wanted to convince themselves. There are a lot of teams that could convince themselves. Do you think like it's going to be aggressive right when we hit December 15th and there's going to be a flurry of moves, or a team's going to be waiting back and just going to, play poker a little bit and play it close to the vest?
I feel like the West is going to be more aggressive than the East. I think the East is going to be more willing to trade guys off, and West teams are going to be more aggressive, because if you look at the East, yes, there's a lot of chances, opportunities for teams to get in the playoffs in a playoff race, but there's just a few juggernauts in the East right now with the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Cavs, and it's just a big drop up after that. Where in the West, you could honestly, besides maybe a couple teams, 1 through 10, you could put them in any order right now.
Who are those couple teams? Who are you hating on?
Is it in the West? In the West, it's the Rockets and the Spurs. The Rockets and the Spurs. I saying
you were talking about your 1 through 10. I thought you were gonna.
No, if we're going 1 through 10, I'm not hating on the Kings. I don't think the Kings will be the best team in the West, but I think the Kings are in a position where if they want to get a few extra pieces or whatnot, I think there's almost a dozen teams in the West, maybe a little less, right? That all have a chance to really make a move, do something. Where in the East, you got your top three, and I think that's going to be the top three the entire course of the season, barring any major injuries with the Celtics, the Bucks, and the Cavs. And the rest of the teams are in this weird spot where it's like, okay, we could probably make the playoffs in the East. Maybe we win around here and then we get smoked by one of those three teams. But do we really want to do that, or do we want to try to set ourselves up more so for the future? And the Wizards, the cores are right, Beal, Porzingis, and Kuzma, but I just don't think that's really going to get you anywhere. And I think it'd be better off to try to trade these guys. Well, they are playing pretty good basketball right now and look to rebuild. Because I think once we really see moves start to happen, I think we're going to see a lot more aggression come out of the Western Conference teams than the Eastern Conference teams. Because like I said, I think the West is pretty much up for grabs. I think there's a lot of very good teams in the West, but I think there's a lot of teams in the West that can move up or down significantly. Where it's the East, you got the top three, just a cluster in the middle, and then a couple bottom teams.
I think what you said about the West is so perfect. Right now, the three teams that are even outside the playoffs right now is the Lakers, the Thunder, and the Timberwolves. Yeah. And all those teams could theoretically tell themselves, hey, we could be a play-in team.
Absolutely.
And we have stars that we want to build around and win. Like, well, we know the Timberwolves and Lakers want to win. Like, they're both all in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Timberwolves sold their future for Rudy Gobert. They have to be all in. They have no other option.
So if we're going, let's do a rapid fire here, quick. This is impromptu for you guys, and I'll throw this in too, because we're looking at the Suns, Pelicans, and Grizzlies. I think are mostly going to stay the same. So let's go through the four. You think there's some moves to be made there?
I mean, are you saying in that order or like top three?
Let's go. We're just going to run through these quick as buyers or sellers as the trades come.
Okay,
up. The West first, and then we'll go through the East.
Yeah.
So Suns buyers probably.
Yeah.
Right. Pelicans, Grizzlies, both buyers. We'd go with that.
Yeah.
Kings. What would they do?
I think they're a buyer. I think the Kings are a buyer.
Harrison Barnes and somebody to try to in a pick to try to get something, or
I mean,
along that lines.
Malik Monk's been playing good off the bench. I think they keep Kevin Huerter, but he's been the best of his career so far right now. I mean, we haven't seen the Kings
trade Steve's boy Davion.
Yeah, I was just gonna say we've seen them trade a young point guard before. Davion Mitchell's someone where he's not getting as much of a run as I expected this year because they've had some really good other guards. I think the Kings could put a few packages together. They have some picks, and I don't know, the Kings, in my mind, have been surprising, very surprising how well they're playing as a team.
What if they are? Now I'm thinking going back to the Wizards, and we're talking about Beal, who I think Beal and Levine are the next two pieces, the big pieces to get moved.
Yeah,
I just feel Levine definitely at some point, and Beal, I still think that deal was signed to eventually be traded to another team. Mm-hmm. And I think that Sacramento with a Davion package and something else, and Denver with maybe a Jamal Murray package and some picks to get to Beal.
Yeah.
They need something to put them over the edge this year, like the Nuggets.
Yeah, they do.
They're just another team. Like Jokic is awesome, but with the inconsistencies you get from Porter and Murray right now, isn't it worth it to go get the 23 point a game scorer that they got to go bucket wins to?
I'm gonna give I guess a little pass on the Nuggets because I still think they're just gonna slowly bringing Jamal Murray along. I don't think they have any plans to get rid of him out like that team. So I don't know if that would be a situation, but I could see a lot of Western teams, like you said, Jake, packaging a few, pieces and a couple, picks to try to get a scorer like Beal or Levine. Because there's a lot of Western Conference teams are looking right now that could take a guard, just a pure scoring guard like that and run with it. We'll see. The Nuggets probably not on the radar. I could see the Kings doing it. I could see the Mavs doing it. I could see the Suns. I could see the Suns trying to go for another scorer to go along with Devin Booker.
I think the Blazers. Okay, go ahead with the Suns, Dunny.
No, I was just gonna say I feel like they're one of the teams I see in trade rumors lately. Is the Suns because
they're definitely looking to add.
Yeah, I think so.
There's always the Crowder piece there too, he's still been trying to get traded all year.
Yeah.
Like the Blazers and Jazz, the Jazz.
The Jazz, I don't know what they're going to do.
The Jazz are going to be a fire sale at some point for probably all these teams.
They have
maybe
to,
East
right?
Teams too.
They keep winning, though. They're not going to be a fire sale if they keep on winning.
The Warriors have decided they just don't care about the regular season this year. So,
don't worry. They'll get in and they'll win a few playoff series. It's just
the young guys aren't looking good though.
What is up with them? Did you guys see the James Wiseman quote?
No.
Actually, I'll have to check if this is real. Actually, because it better be fake, bro.
Because he's back up now.
Yeah, he got called. That's what the quote. That's what the quote's about.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's
I think I shared it with you guys, but like his highlight tape in the G League, not great.
Oh boy.
No, and this is James Wiseman on being called back up from the G League. I'm just grateful to be back up here, to be in a big ass hotel again, to be in a great bed again. That's soft. Like, bro, what are you like? Just shut up.
That's not good.
What?
Try to stay on the active roster of the Warriors. What are you making comments about being in a big hotel room again? You can barely stay in a rotation of a team that is suffering at the big position. Actually, well, Looney's solid. That's not.
I was going to say no disrespect to Kevin Looney, but the Warriors didn't draft James Wiseman second overall to be a backup to Kevin Looney.
They fucked up on the pick. It doesn't matter if he even turns into a reliable guy.
I agree.
Like
which is rare with the Warriors messing up the draft pick.
Is it? Rare. I mean, but right now Moody and Kuminga aren't even playing well either.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised by.
Anthony Lamb is getting all these. We're talking about our boy the other night, Stevie.
He has been playing
all these minutes.
He's doing well with those minutes.
But if he's the best guy out of these 3 stars or hopeful stars that you drafted so high,
I agree with that. But I also think too, with the Warriors case, is they just are going to play who's better. They do not care like where the guy was drafted. If Lamb's playing better than Kuminga, Lamb's going to get more minutes than Kuminga. We've seen the Warriors do this with role players for basically their entire dynasty.
Oh, I know. I get it, but it's not good.
No, it's not good. But if they keep on winning, then who cares, right?
Going back to the trade targets, they're. I think I mentioned a couple weeks ago my favorite Caruso spot for where they win the Bulls. Get rid of him. I want the Cavs to really get him, but I don't think the Bulls are going to trade him in
probably not. Yeah,
I think that just going to the East quick before we get to the power rankings on these trading things. I think that the Bulls are going to sell everything. I think the Wizards end up selling, but the Knicks and the Sixers and potentially the Nets are going to be buying as much as they possibly can. Because really, the top 3 teams, like the Cavs, the Cavs are probably. The Cavs are going to be buying too a little bit. They're going to be bargain hunting, but they're going to be buying too. But the top 2 teams, which we're going to get into them big time here, they're not going to do like the Celtics aren't. The biggest Celtics move coming up is Robert Williams going to be coming back.
Yeah, unless they want to trade Jaylen Brown and a bunch of picks for KD, you know?
No. You guys see what JB said today?
The best 2-way duo in the league?
He said that he believes him and Tatum are the best individual 2-way players in the NBA.
Wow.
I would be hard pressed to disagree with that.
Right now, like it's tough to disagree with that.
I mean,
two-way. Well,
Giannis.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I don't know if JB can say he's better than.
You're not better than Giannis 2-way.
No.
Yeah.
But
Embiid, I'd put him
as a duo. I think it's hard to
as a duo. You can't say that there's a better duo right now. I think AD and Brown are making a case. Last night, super unfortunate. Now they're both not
talk
playing.
about Davis.
That was very fortunate for me in the Cleveland Cavaliers. I was upset. No, I was hurt. When I saw, and I even thought like the first thing I thought when he was walking off the court, like to see him go to the locker room, he just walked like LeBron, and he looked like they showed his face. He looked tired. I was like, oh, maybe this dude's sick or something. And 100. Why are you trying to play with 101?
I know.
Who told
I know. Like who cleared him?
Terrible.
You know who cleared him? The guy who took all the unders on Anthony Davis props after he went 55 and 17 the game before. That's who cleared him. The doctor was like, "Yeah, play AD. Say you start." He's like, "I'll make a fortune."
You want to know what my first thought was though last night with him having a fever and not being able to play and everything? And this is gonna sound terrible because like the pandemic was a much different time. But remember when people couldn't play for like 2 weeks because they were sick?
Yeah.
AD could have a flu with 100-degree fever, and they'd let him play the game. It's like I understand what was going on, and like I was very.
It is crazy.
You guys know I was very protective, but now it's literally like it's still someone being very sick and very contagious to everybody in that arena, and he was just like
Horford's in health and safety protocols tonight.
It's the optics of it too. Like why? Like I'm sure he got COVID tested. Maybe I don't know. I'm sure he did though. But how do you like? We've come. It's a different world. Different world. But that was my first thought. Was like, how is a guy with 100-degree fever even allowed at a sporting event in today's day and age? Like, how are we back all the way to this point? Anyways.
Yeah. No, I think. It is madness. I'm glad we're back at a point where a player can at least try to give it a go with a fever. I'm not saying we should throw guys out there to have a fever,
I'm
but
100%.
But if you're down,
I'm glad that they're not out multiple weeks after they cough once.
Exactly. Take 2 games, fine. We don't need 2 weeks anymore. Yeah, we could wrap up the East convo. I did just want to bring up the Knicks. That was the last piece in the news and notes.
Yes.
I mean, I said it briefly last episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago. It cannot be more different than when we thought about the Knicks. I think we figured they'd be in this position standing wise, but all 3 of us were like, it's the year RJ makes the leap. Randall's probably going to be down a little bit. Brunson, we don't know how much he's going to help. Apparently, Brunson's helping way more than we thought. Randall looks pretty damn good, and RJ looks bad. Not bad, but just really struggling. Doesn't seem to have the drive too. I feel like when reporters are like questioning his shots, he's like, they're going to start falling eventually. Just like kind of half-hearted answers from RJ Barrett. I've seen his name in a bunch of trade rumors. Now they're
maybe it
benching
changes
Cam
scenery.
Reddish.
Yeah, maybe it changes scenery is best for RJ at this point. Because we've seen
get him to Oklahoma City, baby.
Ability he has. I know. Yeah. I would love to see him somewhere else because it's just I don't know. I'll watch a game, Dunny, and RJ will be going off. They'll be running the offense through him. He'll be making a shot, and then you'll watch another game, and RJ's 1 of 9 from the field. And the thing that gets me frustrated with RJ is when he starts slow in a game, he'll just stand in the corner for the next 15 minutes. You just can't have that type of mentality when you're supposed to be a go-to scorer. So he could be someone. I don't know what team exactly would be going for RJ, but
the Bulls should. That should be the Levine.
You think so?
Piece. Yes, I would think. I don't know what it's probably not a lot of Bulls fans' point where they're at the point where they want to trade Levine. I guarantee that. So I know that this is premature, but I just feel like it's inevitable that once DeRozan keeps talking about LA and how he thought he was going to get traded there, all that, that might be the LA move that they end up making is DeRozan and Vucevic when the Bulls decide. The Bulls are not good, and they're not going to be good this year. So they're going to end up trading all these guys because they really don't have another answer.
Yeah.
And naturally, Levine's going to look around and be like, well, they signed DeRozan and traded for Vucevic and signed Caruso all to help me make the playoffs and keep me around. And now all these guys are gone. Why would I want to be here for 4 years? And maybe they tell him to suck it up and that we're going to try to get Victor Wembanyama in here with you and build around you two for the rest of the time. But I didn't think Levine was a lock to even stay there when he re-signed.
Yeah.
So I just feel like that's a team that there's a lot of pieces. And so any of these young guys, you talk about Barrett, you talk about all the Warriors guys we were talking about earlier, all those guys, I feel like any struggling young guy is going to get packaged, is getting ready to get packaged coming December 15th.
Another guy I loved on the Knicks, young player, just doesn't really have found his role, is Obi Toppin. He could be someone they package with RJ Barrett. And you could get you go Obi Toppin, RJ Barrett, and a few picks. You could get someone for that, right?
I think that's the thing that more people maybe need to start pointing fingers at.
Mm-hmm.
It might be time for Tibbs to stop coaching.
He runs his course at places. That's always what he wears them down.
He does.
Yeah, and like I just think the group of individuals he has are not that don't seem to be buying in. I really believe this in my heart. Like I watched a lot of Cam Reddish at Duke because I thought it was fascinating how good he was and just how little people saw it because he played with Zion and RJ. Like Cam Reddish is so good at basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I legitimately think he's probably the second most talented player on the Knicks. And like just if we're just looking at talent, quite possibly might be the most talented on the Knicks, in my opinion. But dude, he gets no run. Like he's literally actively gotten benched 3 different times by Tibbs. And maybe it's a character thing, and that's something I don't see. So obviously it could be something like that. But like you said, Obi Toppin's probably not getting as much time as he should. Your quote-unquote best player is shooting 28% from 3 this year and doesn't seem to have a lot of confidence. There's something more going on to just, some underperformers on the New York Knicks. And, I think that organization should probably start asking some questions about
They also thought they were going to end up with Donovan Mitchell and just got Jalen Brunson. Like they sold out basically everything thinking that Mitchell was a lock to go there. And then
but I don't think
in Cleveland.
I don't think you can get upset at how they acquired Jalen Brunson because he's been the one playing above and beyond. Like that.
I'm not blaming anything on Brunson.
Yeah.
No, he's been awesome.
It's just the way they're playing
Brunson
these guys.
Brunson and Randall though in the East is you can't look at everybody your fan base in the East with all the guys at the top and be like, yep, we're gonna go to war with those.
Like, what the hell happened to Emmanuel quickly?
He's apparently getting moved, and I saw earlier that first of all, they're trying to trade Fournier, and they're like, "We'll just attach quickly." It's like what?
And Reddish, they said quickly and Reddish are going to attach to that.
They're basically trying to trade the entire team besides Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle.
That's what the Lakers are going to. The Lakers are going to get quickly Fournier and
throw Derrick Rose in there too.
some sort of mix of that
for Russ and a first.
Yeah. That's not a bad deal. If Fournier can actually figure out how to shoot again, it's not a bad deal.
Dude, no one on the Knicks can shoot a 3 right now, though.
Guys, one of my picks this year was Fournier over on his points, and it was the most frustrating thing I've ever watched in my life. This black cat coming on the screen is bad luck for Knicks fans. Sorry, guys. It's just gonna be bad.
It's getting worse.
He's been sleeping in the other room. He heard the Knicks getting talked about. I was like, oh, I gotta come in here right now. So, that's all I'm saying. You want to get to these power rankings?
Let's talk about some good teams. Right? Let's talk about some good.
No more.
All right, Stevie. I do have beef with you though.
You got beef?
Yes, because you tried in our group chat, you tried to put the Bucks at 4th, and I don't understand what you're doing here.
I did anti-Bucks agenda. I don't have an anti-Bucks agenda. You heard me in the offseason. This goes back to the offseason where I was talking about the Bucks, where I'm like, yeah, it's just kind of the same team, and you can get away with that when you have Giannis. And I know Middleton came back, but Drew Holiday's getting older. He's been okay. He hasn't been as great. Chris Middleton, he just came back, so we'll see what he'll have to give. And it's just, it's Giannis and a bunch of guys, and that's not taking anything away from the Bucks. I think Giannis is the best player in the NBA, but as a team, I think the overall teams right now of the Pelicans and the Suns can be in the conversation as better or equal to the Milwaukee Bucks. So that's where the Bucks are 4. And putting the Bucks at 4, Jake, I mean, it's the 4th best team out of 30. I'm still saying the Bucks are an elite team. They're one of the best teams in the NBA, and it's because of Giannis. I just look at the Bucks and I'm like, I think they just need to get something else right now. And I look at the Pelicans and the Suns team. I think they got more depth. I think they have more players that can do kind of a little bit of everything, more so than the Milwaukee Bucks. And the Bucks are getting a little older. Well, the Pelicans, they got a really nice young core. And the Suns, they are an old team, but they got some nice depth to them as well. The Bucks, and it's nothing crazy saying, oh, the Bucks are the 4th best team in the NBA. I think the Pelicans deserve to be a little higher. That's all.
That's fair. All right, that's a worthy answer. I'll let you side with that one. What would I say though if you're asking for a little bit added more to the Bucks? What would I say if you could add Joe Ingles and Pat Connaughton to your rotation? Because those are 2 guys still missing, even though Middleton has returned.
But they're also Connaughton, I mean, Ingles is getting older, and Connaughton, I mean, we know what Connaughton is at this point.
Really, all they got to do, though, is hit open threes. As long as they're – and both those guys can hit open threes at a high clip.
But you also got to think of who you're taking out, right, of the rotation when those guys come back. Do you really think Joe Ingles and Connaughton are going to be better than what Javon Carter and Jordan Orwell have been for the Bucks right now? Because those guys
I don't know. I don't know if they'll be. I don't know if they'll be consistently better, but it's a nice to have the option.
That's fair.
Especially
I think
with Mike Budenholzer, I would rather him. He loves those. He loves to just make guys that all they do is stand in the three corner and drill threes into all stars. I mean, that's basically what he's made a career out of.
Well, and if you want that, why not go see what Indiana wants for Buddy Hield? There you go.
Hield is we didn't talk about the Pacers and the trade thing, but Hield is also the biggest trade. He's going to be a huge piece.
And I think that would be a perfect fit
this year.
Perfect fit for Milwaukee. You get Buddy. You know what? I'll say this on the record. The Milwaukee Bucks get Buddy Hield. I'll put him at 2. I'll be fine with putting him at 2.
Brooke Lopez has been.
I do not want that to happen.
I know.
I don't want it to happen either.
Trust me, I know you don't want that to happen.
Buddy Hield. I want Buddy Hield. That's the Cavs cannot go. Here's my rule, guys: is the Cavs can't pass the Celtics or Bucks at all this year until they add a wing, because the fact that Dean Wade injury is like damn near devastating, because I have to watch so much more Isaac Okoro, and I like Dean Wade; he's a solid player, but like we can't have Dean Wade being a devastating injury to the squad. And it's also the fact that this team is a Jared Allen injury away at any time from not being a title contender anymore. They could miss anybody else but Jared Allen.
Exactly. That's what we were talking about, Jake. He might be one of the most underrated players in all of the NBA right now because of how that Cavs team changes both offensively and defensively when Jared Allen's back on the court. And we saw it against the Lakers we saw it. Jared Allen and yes, he was 9 of 9 shooting. You're not going to do that every night or whatnot. A lot of it were dunks, which is what he does. But the way he just kind of opens up the floor for everyone else because of what he can do inside the paint as a rim protector and someone who can have, kind of that verticality that just opens up everything else. And you said it too, Jake. He makes Mobley's life a billion times easier. Yeah. So, I mean, honestly,
like I said, I mentioned last night too. Jared Allen was guarding LeBron. Like LeBron's running point, and you just see Jared Allen on him. It's like that's just not normal. And it's like you want to talk about Gobert winning all these defensive awards and everything. Gobert could never do that.
He's not doing that.
Ever do anything like
that. No
shot.
Like,
Jared Allen is the key to everything. Like Mitchell is the story out of last night. Looked awesome, and trust me, I loved watching Donovan Mitchell light up the Lakers in the second half.
What do you have, 43, right?
Ended up with 43, but I think it was like 20. There was some crazy amount in the second half.
Ridiculous.
It was just unreal shot making. But the fact that he is like not the most important piece, and Mobley still might end up the best guy. Like Mobley is crazy. But Dunny, I need to talk about the Celtics because Robert Williams, 10 to 12 days away, which just so happens to be right before Christmas Day. I think he's coming back on Christmas
for the finals rematch.
Yes, for that game. And
no.
So you think it's the Warriors game Saturday night next week?
Yes,
that's exactly.
Wait, that's
next Saturday night,
isn't it?
No, I thought it was next Saturday. Is it this Saturday?
Pretty sure.
No.
It might be. No, it is this Saturday. You are right.
But I think maybe we played them for the second time shortly after that, though, because I saw Celtics writers speculating that he's going to be back for the Warriors game.
They do play Golden State. Yeah, it would. I mean, I don't think he'd be back.
Yeah,
it would have to be this Saturday. Then they play him on MLK Day, I think.
Yeah.
Or the right after.
So I must have misread that. But anyway, close return for Rob. It's crazy because when I watch games, like I forget that we have them sometimes, because I mean that's just how good the Celtics have been. Like,
sure,
Horford. This actually goes perfectly. When we go out to the Celtics, this was a stat I had to mention because I think it is crazy how not talked about these things are. but the Celtics are a league best 20-5. Shout out Mark D'Amico, by the way. This is his tweet. The Celtics are a league best 20-5, despite all of these games being missed by arguably their top 6 players. Robert Williams has missed all 25, obviously. Al Horford has missed 5. Malcolm Brogdon has missed 5. Marcus Smart has missed 3. Jaylen Brown has missed 2. And Jason Tatum has missed 1. Not enough people are talking about this. So, like, not only is it Rob, but and Horford's out tonight. He's about to miss his 6th game. Blake Griffin has been starting games when Al Horford is out. And, like, this is why I'm forgetting about Robert Williams when the games are being played, because Blake Griffin, who really hasn't been relevant since, like, his first year in Detroit, which we're, like, 4 years removed from that, comes in and not that he's, like, a world beater or is doing anything crazy to jump off the stat sheet, but he's helping us in a big way get wins. And it's Blake Griffin, dude. Like, everyone was saying this guy was done years ago.
Yeah.
And we can just slot him in. Luke Cornett is someone who was just grown in the Celtics organization.
Hauser is top
Sam
15 in the league in 3-point percentage. Like,
I mean, we have like 6 guys in the top 12 of 3-point percentage on our team. Smart's a 40% from 3. He's a 40% 3-point shooter this season right now.
Yeah.
Or like over the last 10 or something. Like, everyone, Grant Williams, Derek White's 3-point shot is like gone crazy from last year.
That's why, like, for me, like, you're saying you don't even notice it. It's because, I mean, the offense has been just so lights out that they can beat anybody any night and outscore you. But the defense is like league average right now. And that's what Robert Williams leading a defense, if he's healthy, they are not going to be league average. They're going to be back in the top 10.
Agreed.
And what does this team look like when they have a top 10 defense again? Because last year, that's what it was. Like, they're just best in defensive rating back and forth with the Cavs and Bucks last year, defensive rating, all that stuff. This year, it's not that way. It's going to like take a straight incline the second that Rob steps on that floor and is healthy and can impact games.
Yeah. So I want to correct myself. I looked it up. So Smart on the season is shooting just under 36% from deep. Over the last 10 games, Smart shooting 46.5% from 3.
Oh my God.
This is a guy who people would like yell at 2 years ago for shooting the ball too many times in a game, or people who said he wasn't an offensive minded point guard. Like, he can't exist in this offense. It's been wild, man. Like, just everyone up and down the roster has been contributing and like can contribute on a night to night basis. It really makes no sense. I think tonight is a huge test though. You know, not to get too in depth, but like Phoenix, best team in the West.
Phoenix too.
Yeah, in Phoenix. That we're in the midst of in the thick of a 6-game road trip right now. No Al Horford tonight. Brogdon's available, but he's been sick, and Chris Paul is supposed to be back tonight for the first time in a while. So there's that factor as well. But yeah, man, I mean, just the way the Jays have been playing, and I wanted to point to the Raptors game the other night because, Jake, I know OG Anunoby's your guy, and he's statistically has been one of the best wing defenders in the entire NBA from the start of the season until this point. Dude, the Jays were doing anything they wanted when Anunoby was on them.
Anything. Like,
Tatum
was pulling out like moves that he pulls out in an open gym.
Tatum shots, like, his shots they're perfect swishes most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, he is so locked in that like his makes are like perfect looking. It's like you're watching him and it's not bouncing around. It's not like hitting the rim, like bouncing it. Like, it is literally like floater perfectly through, barely touches the net. Like, everything is so precise. I don't
his
know
deep threes, bro. They go so high up in the air. Like, it's not like a jump shot. He has like a catapult for arms, bro. And he just shoots the thing. He looks like one of those robots that people make that just like send the perfect jump shot and it just goes in every time, no matter where they put it. Yeah, man. He's on another level.
And the biggest thing with him is that last year he got pushed around a little bit when it came to the finals. And he stopped driving. He got it. And then this year it's like, okay, I'm just going to be LeBron now. I'm just going to drive into everybody, and I can make so many different shots when I get up there that you're not going to be able to do anything. Like, he can do it anyway. He can go through you, go over top, go to, up and under. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, he can finish in so many different ways now, and like not just the ability to do it. He's always had shot making ability. It's the confidence that he just goes into all these drives with and everything. And he's a freak of nature, bro. Like, he's 6'10", 6'9" with a 7'4" wingspan. Like, this is what always should have been the final form.
Crazy too, man. Like, not shying away from the Luka assignment, the Ja assignment. Like, and I'm sure we're gonna see a heavy amount of him on Booker tonight.
Absolutely.
Like, and he's making LeBron like blocks off the glass too. Like, it's just, he's a new animal, and I think this is, all you could really ask for as a Celtics fan. Like, you saw the disappointment in the finals. Like, a lot of players, especially young guys, like, it's so easy for them. Not that all guys his age are getting to the finals, but even in similar situations, playoffs, whatever it is, like, when that criticism gets to a lot of young guys, especially in like just the Twitter day and age, social media, like, it's not easy to bounce back, and to bounce back this way and be the, like, he's getting legends. It's one thing what Paul Pierce says, he thinks he surpassed Kevin Garnett, but like, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to check out the Pat Bev pod the other day, but they were basically talking about how good Anthony Davis was doing, and Pat Bev took the time to like stop the conversation about Anthony Davis to give his props to Jason Tatum. He's like, well, no one's playing better than Tatum right now. Like, just the recognition, the bounce back, it's insane.
Well, let's naturally go into, you mentioned two guys that we need to talk about in a second, because we need to check in on our MVP race here. And Tatum is going to be leading the way right there, I think, unless something crazy happens, leading the way the whole year. Luka is right behind him, though, and I think AD has entered this conversation if he keeps playing like this. And I know he's missing. We're taping this Wednesday. He's going to miss tonight again, out with flu-like symptoms. I assume that once they get back home, or even later in this stretch, he'll be back. And AD playing like this was what I talked about. I think we talked about in the summer with the Lakers, is that this is what he is supposed, like, this was the reason they did, like, they're in this position picks wise, in this position, all these different ways, is because they gave up so much because this guy has this ability. Like, he outplayed Giannis Friday night. Like, he just looked Giannis in the face, is like, I'm the better player here. 41-17 against them. That was a huge win. I don't think that 10 games ago they would have even been able to do that. Like, I don't think they had the confidence, and I don't think he was playing like that. And I was listening to the Low Post with McMenamin, and like talking about, he's around them all the time and everything, and he mentioned it so many times, just the mindset, like the attitude of domination, like all this stuff that LeBron and AD like are exuding right now. Like, AD, just, if the confidence is there for AD, this is what it should be. And if that's it, like, he's going to have to be in this top three in this conversation all year long. And that team is going to be convinced to try to add to it. And if he's playing like that, and Bron is playing as a second fiddle, still posting regular LeBron stats, their record's going to go up, and he's going to have some sort of, he's just great value, I think. I think AD is great value to jump on right now.
Well, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing you brought up, Jake, is their record's going to have to go up, right? Because we look at the MVP over the past, I don't know how many years, you got to be on a good team. You got to be on a winning team. It just kind of goes along with the NBA MVP. You have to be on a winning team. And if we're looking at live odds right now, or the current odds, Jason Tatum is the odds-on favorite at plus 270. So he's right there. Luka at 290, and then you got Giannis at plus 300, so 3-1. So right there in that three. Anthony Davis right now is plus 2,000. He's 20-1 odds still. There's still about 3-4 names ahead of him. I think it's Curry, Embiid, Durant, Giannis, Luka, and Tatum are the ones ahead of Anthony Davis right now. You're right, Jake. I mean, if you really, truly believe the Lakers are going to turn it around, and they're going to get into the playoffs, they have to be the best team in the league. But, have a good year, have a winning record, and they're going to rely on a healthy AD that's going to be putting up these jaw-dropping type video game numbers. It's a great value play at 20-1 odds, because you look at how this Lakers team is. LeBron, I think, is okay with having AD. be 1A and he'll be 1B, especially if AD's putting up this. And we talked about with Tatum how good he is defensively. Anthony Davis is one of the best interior defenders in the entire league. I mean, so he's not only going to be putting up these ridiculous, like video game type box score numbers, he's going to have the defense on that side as well. And we saw this back when he was in the Pelicans. We saw it the bubble year. Healthy Anthony Davis is basically a lock for like a 30, 32 points a game and like a 12 to 14, 15 rebounds a game per night type of season. And those are kind of numbers that are better than what Embiid's were last year when he was in the MVP race. And now you're talking a giant market like Los Angeles. You're playing alongside LeBron, so all the eyeballs are going to be on you. And if the Lakers even just become, a little bit better of a team and they get in the middle area of the Western Conference, everyone, especially if AD's the reason they get there, everyone will be talking about Anthony Davis. And it's not crediting what Luka and Tatum are doing this year because they've been phenomenal. But Anthony Davis is in the perfect spot to just sneak up right in there because he is putting up these absurd numbers, as well as you're playing with LeBron. If you're playing with LeBron, everyone's going to talk about you.
Yeah. I don't know where the line is for you guys, but in my head, like, I think the Lakers would have to end like top 5 seed.
5. I think 5 is.
I was going to say 5. Yeah, right around 5, even 6 seed, maybe, depending on what the other records are, I guess, in the West, because I think there's going to be a lot of good winning records in the West this year. But I would agree, Dunny. I think they have to be a comfortable playoff team, right?
Yeah,
to at least in the conversation. And also, too, the Celtics would have to get off their like 60 win pace.
Yeah, that's why I don't really care.
That with Jason Tatum, doesn't matter what numbers Anthony Davis is putting up. Doesn't matter what numbers Luka's putting up. Doesn't matter how many triple doubles he's getting a night. Jason Tatum's doing what he's doing for a 60+ win team. You can't really argue against it.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with this race. Is that it's gonna be. By February, it's going to be boring to even talk about it if they keep up this pace because it's just going to be it's going to be like a couple of the Giannis years where it was like, okay, Giannis is winning MVP this year. Like we all know, like it's basically like who's going to be second. Like that was the more exciting thing. Like even the Giannis Harden year when everybody's trying to get some stuff behind Harden, it's like it's going to be Giannis.
It's
going to be Giannis. So that the second place vote might be more interesting if it's AD, if it's Luka, if it's somebody else who makes a late run, because I still think there's some sleeper candidates. Like you mentioned, Durant still pretty high up there. I feel like like we're talking about with both these teams. There's only 3.5 games right now between the 5 and 13 seed Lakers in the West, and between 4th and 11th or 4th and 12th, there is only also 3.5 game difference in the East. So 3.5 game difference between 7 spots in both the East and the West. A lot of teams, a lot of movement. We're going to see a lot of guys with MVP candidates on those teams.
And you talk about a few, you want to talk about sleepers. We brought him up earlier, but look what Donovan Mitchell's doing. He's 30-1 odds right now. He's 30-1 odds. We talked about Shai Gilgeous. If we're going to talk about Anthony Davis, having the Lakers not be a great team, and if they start winning, well, the Oklahoma City Thunder, we thought they were all going to be awful after the Chet Holmgren injury. We really did. I mean, we're like, all right, they're just going to be a rebuilding team. And Shai Gilgeous is like, I'm just going to score 30 a night, get like 7-8 assists a night. And not only it's that he's scoring 30, it's the way he's scoring. If he gets OKC even into like the playoff picture, I don't think he's going to win the award, but he's got to be mentioned. He has to be mentioned the way he's playing.
He is a very interesting candidate for what's going to be very interesting this year is I think Luka and Booker are probably automatic. Luka, Booker, Curry, 2 of those 3 are automatic first team All NBA. That 4th guard spot for All NBA it's going to be Morant, it's going to be Mitchell, and it's going to be SGA. Very interesting to see who gets that second team All NBA out of those 3 because you think Curry's going to get the votes. Luka and Booker should probably. I would give it to Luka and Booker and put Curry on the second team right now.
Really? I would say I would go probably Booker's second team right now. I think
it's tough though. It's gonna be tough if the Suns are 58 and
Agreed.
whatever though, and the Warriors win 47 games.
Agreed.
Like that's where I'm at. And Luka's gonna have what 32,
Luka
10, and 8 by the end of the year. Yeah,
he's gonna put up those numbers where he's gotta be.
You know what's crazy too is everyone in this conversation. And it's something I brought up about Luka last week. Everyone in this MVP conversation is doing it on the defensive end right now. Like we talk about Davis, he clears in that category. Absolutely. Obviously, Giannis is closest, but like SGA is averaging just under 2 steals a game, just over a block a game. Tatum's averaging 1 of each. Luka's just under 2 steals a game, even though he doesn't have the blocks. Like Giannis, obviously, he's doing his thing. Davis, we mentioned. Like I feel like that's not usually the case. And here we have all these elite scorers who are also doing it on the defensive end. And it's not like we're 10 games in. We're 25, 26 games into this NBA season, and they're posting numbers like that. Another crazy thing about SGA, now that I just have his stats in front of me, he's only shooting 32% from 3, and he's doing what he's doing. Like I expect those numbers to go up a bit. He shoots just under 35% on his career. And on top of all that, he's probably going to lead the league in free throw percentage at 93% right now on the season. So SGA, as much as doesn't have much around him, OKC, no one's really talking about them. Looking at them, he's having a nearly flawless season.
He is at number 8 in usage rate in the NBA, which is notable to say. But exactly, Giannis is second at 38. You want it, it's because you want to use Giannis. You want to give him the ball.
Where are the rest of the guys that we have here?
Okay. Doncic is 4. I mean, Doncic is 4. Tatum's 10. It's not Durant 12, Booker 13. Like
who's one?
Mitchell 19. Well,
Jokic again.
I'm not counting who's won. Giannis is effectively 1 because number 1 technically right now is Jaden Springer in his 4 minutes of action has a 40% usage rate. I don't know why. I was trying to avoid. I shouldn't have said.
I don't even know who that is, bro.
He's on the 76ers, right?
The Sixers, yeah. He in his 4 minutes of action though, I think he hit a 3.
Cool.
So
all right. So Jaden Springer, you guys heard that here first.
Oh no, he had a couple rebounds. He had a rebound. He had a rebound, a block, and he hit 2 out of 3 shots.
There you go.
That's
maybe impressive. Build around Springer. Someone make a deal for Springer.
he might be some. Why does the NBA like number 6 in this? Trevor Keels from the Knicks.
There's got to be a minimum amount of minutes played, right? There has to be.
This is why no one uses NBA.com. But I just searched usage rate quick just to see. See who would be there, and
so if you take out the ones that don't have enough minutes to qualify, it's what Giannis is 1.
Stats go the minimum 2,000 minutes played so far, and Giannis would be number 1 on this list.
Yeah,
Shea is 5 on that list. Then.
Okay,
Tatum's 6 right behind him. So yeah, any MVP candidate is in the top 20 of usage right now, which makes sense.
Which they should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're getting to this giving flowers segment here, or what, boys?
I think we have to. I think this has to become a weekly thing.
I do really like.
No, I think that I really think we found I think we have 4 segments that we can do every week now. I just noted it down as we're doing this podcast, and this is definitely the one that we will finish up with.
I think each week we have to. I mean, these guys have been. I'll let one of you start, but there's a lot of guys on this list I'm looking at right now that are well deserved, or at least having their name mentioned.
I can start. Go ahead, Dunny.
If this was who you were gonna take, Jake, then by all means. But I think he may be the least known, or not known, but like the least that people want to talk about. It's Russell Westbrook, man. Like, goddamn, does this feel good for having this guy's back through everything, through the Westbrook era. Steve, yeah, I know pretty much all 3 of us have stuck up for Brody during all of this. But like, it's just crazy that it takes the Lakers to have the littlest bit of success for people to be like, oh yeah, Westbrook actually isn't that bad. And I will say, I'll give Darvin Ham credit actually, because the bench role seems to be working pretty effectively, not only for the Lakers team, but also the individual. I just love to see Westbrook just being himself again, doing pretty well. He just, the numbers aren't crazy. Like I don't love the shooting splits at all. The last 10 and on the season. But he's doing what he does. Like the last 10 games, 12 and a half points, 8 assists. He's not turning the ball over at a crazy rate. Like I said, the shooting's not great, but I don't if Bron and AD are doing what they do best, it doesn't necessarily have to be. I'm just glad that he's a part of a semi-winning group right now and is the reason, or at least part of the reason for the Lakers' success. It's nice to see him when the Lakers grab a win and like we're seeing graphics from big pages on Twitter and he's the third guy getting thrown in the picture with AD and Bron. It's just, I feel like I've never seen in my lifetime in any sport a Hall of Famer get as much shit as Russell Westbrook has gotten over the last 5 years. And I'm just glad he's getting some positive recognition. And I'm glad he's kind of finding a groove, even if he is still going to be traded this season. I'm happy for Brody.
I'm happy for him too, and I think coming off the bench for a little bit helped him. I really think it did because he can just doesn't really have to worry about playing with two other superstars. Obviously, he's going to play with them as the game goes on, but it just felt like he's playing a little more freely now, Dunny, right? He's playing a little more freely, a little more confident. And with Westbrook, and we saw this all the way back at the OKC days with the Rockets, when he has confidence, that's when he's at his best. When we know he's one of the hardest workers in the NBA without question, and he loves the game as much as anyone, but he can get in his own head sometimes. He's a very mental player, and when he's playing with confidence, when he's playing freely, that's when he's at his best. And it's good to see. And the Lakers are finally starting to play better, which we saw has helped Anthony Davis get his name in MVP discussion. And Westbrook, it's a great name drop because he has been playing great. And I how much I hate that just the media coverage on Westbrook has just been negative. The past, it feels like 5 seasons now. So it is good to finally see him, not back to peak OKC Westbrook, but just playing good basketball again.
Yeah, meaningful basketball.
Well, Westbrook was the guy I wanted to bring up, and you guys just did it so eloquently. I think he's been awesome. No, it's awesome. I couldn't agree more with everything both of you guys said. I think him willing to come off the bench too, because he was mad about it at first. Like remember he's talking about his quad injury, talking about my warm-up's different, all that stuff. Like he was pissed, and then he accepted it, and it's been the best thing for him. It's been interesting because him and AD together has kind of been awesome, and everybody's like, who would have thought putting Russell Westbrook in it with a great pick and roll guy might work out for you? And they've really been hammering that. I still think he gets traded, but I think he's going to be in the best mindset and be able to kind of just have a different perspective and be able to ball out wherever he goes. So it's going to be interesting. And if he's here in Chicago, I will gladly go get some Russell Westbrook Bulls merch and go cheer him on. That would be great. I'm going with Kevin Huerter as my guy for this segment here. He's on his career averaging 11 points a game. This year averaging 15 points, but 42% from 3, and just a guy that it was the craziest trade in the world to me that Atlanta was dumping him for basically nothing, some picks this offseason, because he just seems like even in the meaningful games that Atlanta has played the last couple of years, he was always on the court in crunch time for them, making big plays, not afraid to take big shots, hitting some big shots for them. I couldn't believe that they were getting rid of a guy like that, and he is doing the same thing for Sacramento. And if this Kings team keeps it up and is in a playoff spot at the end of the year, he's going to have some big moments for them. And I just think great snag by them on a really fun team, and can't believe that Atlanta let him go. And he's showing it off. But 42% from 3 this year, up in his clip to 15 points a game. He's going to be a role player for the rest of our lives on playoff / contending teams, I feel like. I like noting those guys who are like not stars, but the guys that I feel like are going to be winning playoff games or helping win playoff games their whole career on like 3 different teams. He feels like that guy for sure.
I agree completely. Kevin Huerter is someone that just people just don't think about. Like when you're like, watching the Kings, you're like, oh yeah, forget Kevin Huerter's on the team now, right? Until you watch the Kings game, and then you're like, you're looking, Kevin Huerter's 5 of 7 from the field, 4 or 5 from 3. He's got 15 points. He's a great teammate to have, Jake. You kind of put it perfectly. I'm going with another guy who's kind of a three-point shooter who's really helped his team. They've won 4 of their last 5, and everyone wants to talk of my boy, the precious guy right back there, good old Luka Doncic. But Tim Hardaway Jr. is really helping the Mavs out. He was someone who got hurt at the end of last year, was struggling with an injury, came back this year, started kind of cold, inconsistent, coming off the bench. He's been in the starting lineup lately, and he's been balling. The last 5 games where the Mavs are 4-1, Tim Hardaway is 30 of 55 from three-point range. He is draining three-pointers. He scored 29, 17, 28, 26, and 22 points. And we talk about with the Mavs, the biggest, kind of downside sometimes is Luka just has inconsistent shooters. And Dinwiddie has been a little inconsistent this year. Obviously, they have Christian Wood coming off the bench who can be inconsistent from there. Finney Smith can be inconsistent. It's just Hardaway has finally given them a little bit of a stable shooter. And now I know he's a streaky player throughout his career and he goes ups and downs, but it's nice to see Tim Hardaway starting to make shots again, get confidence back in the starting lineup, and it's helping the Mavs. We look at this Mavs offense when Tim Hardaway's on fire. This is a Mavs team that's putting up 115 to 125 points a night, and that's exactly the type of player that Luka Doncic needs when he gets double teamed, to have that confidence, to throw to the open shooter and know he's going to knock it down. And 33s in 5 games is just outrageous. This guy's been incredible for him. And we say this all the time. The Mavs are really only going to go as far as the team they can build around Luka, because we know what Luka could do. He can try to win series on his own. He can backpack them all he wants, but he needs help. And if the Mavs, aren't going to get, certain players to help him, he's got to have help with what he's got now. And Tim Hardaway has made a huge impact for the Mavs right now, who are finally starting to turn it around, starting to win some more games, because I think they were on a 4-game losing streak or 5-game losing streak. They switched up the lineups a little bit, and Hardaway has really helped kind of, jumpstart the Mavs, and hopefully we'll see them become, a more consistent team as the year goes on. But I had to give a shout out to Tim Hardaway because, as you know, everyone wants to talk about Luka, and I'm the first person to do it. I'll talk about Luka and anything. But Tim Hardaway needed some love because, yes, Luka's getting his triple-doubles, but part of the reason he's getting those assists is because Tim Hardaway's hitting those open shots.
Yes, sir. Anybody else want to mention here?
I have to mention one more. I have to. You guys know where I'm going with this. You know where I'm going with this. It's Andrew Nembhard. It is the Indiana Pacers getting just 2 incredible guards at the first round of the NBA draft. You talk about the Pacers. Halliburton's been injured for a little bit. They had lost Duarte, who's been out for a little bit. Ben Mathurin's had 1 start, but he's still coming off the bench. They've been starting Aaron Naismith, and they're giving Nembhard a little bit of an opportunity, and he has seized that opportunity. He has, I think, I think he's someone who's going to work his way into the starting lineup consistently, even when they get more healthy. Like I said, I think one of the main reasons Buddy Hield is a giant trade target is because if they get rid of Hield, guess what? Your guard depth is Nembhard and Ben Mathurin. You're going to be okay. This is a young player who was pretty good at Gonzaga, but I thought he had a lot of potential, but a raw talent. And now he's came into the NBA, and we're really seeing what this guy's potential is. The buzzer beater against the Lakers, like you said, Donnie, that kind of just jump-started everything, where that's a shot that you dream of making as a kid, right?
Yeah.
To beat a LeBron team on a buzzer beater, a 15, 18-point comeback, and then he does it against another superstar when they're playing the Golden State Warriors. Nembhard goes 31 points, 13 assists, and 8 rebounds playing against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Jordan Poole. And the Pacers are a team, as much as I loved their young talent, as much as I think the future's bright in Indiana, I didn't expect them to be winning games as much as they are this year. And they have such a young core, such a young team. But that's okay. if they're playing the way they've been playing. And Nembhard, I think, has deserved, even when Halliburton comes back, a good chunk of minutes, because he is showing that he can play at an NBA level. And not only that, he can play against the best of the best at an NBA level. And we talk about this with a lot of guys. Some guys just rise to the occasions, rise to the moments. And if we're seeing early in his career that his best game of his career was against the defending NBA champion, the Golden State Warriors, playing against Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Draymond Green, you name it. And then his other, probably second best game was where he hit a buzzer beater against the Lakers. I mean, I think the future's very bright in Indiana, and this is, you know how much I love Ben Mathurin. I think he was one of the best picks in the draft, one of the best rookies. Indiana might have got two great rookies in round one, and he was the 31st overall pick. This wasn't like, oh, they got Matt Bennett 6, Nembhard at 11, 12. No, this was the 31st pick. I think he's someone who's going to be a key part of this team going forward.
Yeah, and just before we wrap up here, you mentioned maybe getting slept on in the NBA draft. Jose Alvarado, man, undrafted,
unbelievable.
Just we've talked about it on a couple episodes, but like the Pelicans, as great as they've been banged up for the most part. Like Zion's missing here and there, Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum. And who's the guy that they can count on during all of it? Jose Alvarado. He's obviously known for going viral with him just hiding in the corner and getting his steals. Grand Theft Alvarado is what they call him. But the 39 points the other night was just mind-boggling, man. Like, I did not think he had that in him. He's a better shooter than people believe. Like, people aren't paying attention to the Pelicans. This is something crazy I saw on Twitter today too. The Pelicans are what I just took down the standings too. The Pelicans the 5 seed in the West right now.
I believe they're the 3 in the West.
3 seed, yes, I think they are.
2 seed. They're a half game against the Grizzlies.
Shame on me. Yeah, 2 seed in the Western Conference, and apparently you could go to their home game tonight for $5.
Yep, sounds
so
right.
Just. No recognition, so obviously no light's going to be shined on Jose Alvarado until the playoffs, probably, because he's a fun guy to watch play. He's already been an internet sensation last year with the steals when he came onto the scene, but I think he deserves more than that. Like I said, undrafted player, reminds me a lot of Isaiah Thomas, more so just like situation, undersized guard, undrafted, but has the biggest chip on your shoulder that you can have. He just finds a way to get it done, and he's obviously got a great role on this team, and probably a guy they're going to rely on, like I said, down the stretch, and when they do get to when it does come playoff time. And he's a guy that can bother opposing starting guards. So shout out Jose Alvarado, man.
The fact that the Pelicans got Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, and Alvarado the same year as rookies, and it was like 3 players that no one really knew as like NBA names, right? When they had them, and they have just kind of risen to the occasion, and then they've all became not just key contributors for this team, but they have became impactful players for this team. I think just speaks volumes of what the Pelicans are building over there. It is a scary team. There's a reason I'm so high on them. There's a reason I wanted them number 2 in the power rankings. It is a scary team, and I think Alvarado is someone who still is slept on by a lot of people. Yeah. They just kind of know him from, he's going to sneak up behind, try to steal for you in the backcourt, but he is so much more than that. He's a great on-ball defender, and the 38 points blew my mind too, Dunny. That was something I didn't think he was capable of, and you know how much I love my college basketball. I was like, I don't think you'd be an offensive weapon in the NBA, but Pelicans, it's next man up mentality, and there was enough injuries that game. Alvarado's like, all right, I got to lead the offense, and just casually drops 38.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, he's been a pleasure to watch this year. I did not expect it. I expect him to be like a rotation guy and still be effective, but that game, like, never knew that was in an NBA level. So they're gonna be fun. Pelicans will be fun. That's what I'm leaving with us here. The Pelicans will continue to be fun. We got a fun night of hoops tonight ahead of us here too. So let's get to it. Thank you all for joining. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Follow us at Happy Hour Hoops 1. Guys, anything before we go?
I got
Good
nothing.
for me. Go Seas, baby.
Yeah, Celtics Suns at 9 Eastern.
Celtics are dogs.
Or 10. Is it 10? 9 here?
They're the underdogs.
10 Eastern.
10 Eastern. See, I'm spreading misinformation. 9